Hey Gen X crew, are you married with no kids? Are you single with no kids? And because I know you're going to probably come into those comment sections, or even if you're married or single and have children, here's the question and the topic for the day. Who gonna take care of us? That's what we're going to talk about. Hi, I'm Lynn.
Hi, I'm Jice.
And welcome to our channel,
Gen X Quetch,
where we are talking all things pre-retirement life and life stage. And, our focus on this channel is really about planning your what's next while working your what's now, whether that is travel, living abroad, finances, or in today's case, let's talk about who's going to take care of us when we get old. Now, we're not there yet, but it's not too early to start having this conversation. And Jice and I really have been spending a lot of time having this conversation because about 7 months ago, our life turned upside down slightly and in a good way, but it's been an adjustment when I moved my now 90-year-old mom into our home to live with us from Kentucky here in Charlotte. And selfless plug, I actually have a YouTube channel about me and mom's adventures called Mondays with Mom. I'll link it in the description, but go check it out. And
Mom's off the chain too, so you need to check it out.
Yeah. So Mondays with Mom, shameless plug. But back to our topic at hand, talking about taking care of parents. So Jice and I are taking care of my mom, and Jice's parents are in Florida. They're younger, they're more self-sufficient, but his sister and our niece, her daughter, live with them. So they really have a multi-generational thing going on under one roof. But I'm sure that they appreciate having her there. And vice versa. And we appreciate having her there because we know as they do age, it's good to know that somebody is there to keep an eye on them and to make sure things are in check. So according to research, 1 in 5 people over 50 are childless. So, and that's kind of a change because if you think about the baby boomers, that same statistic for people over 70, like about 15% of people over 70 are childless. And for us, it's 20, 22, 23%. So, traditional roles, even culturally, have people taking care of their parents. But for those of us that don't have kids,
what do?
Who gonna take care of us?
Right.
And it's really a, reality check. Because, parents expect their kids to take care of them.
Right.
But when you don't have kids, or if you do have kids and it's just a situation where you can't rely on them to take care of you because of financial, because of
other responsibilities, maybe they got 5 or 6 kids.
Right. Distance, they live in a different place. Or, maybe the kids are just knuckleheads.
Right. And you don't want them taking care of you.
So the concern is if we're being alone and losing your independence and even just having somebody look over your shoulder from a medical situation, what is there to do? So these are some of the steps that we're taking now and encourage you to take if you are, facing the prospect of aging alone or without children. And before we go any further, if you like this video, if you like our content, if you like us, give this video a like, give it a share, and definitely subscribe. We are growing this channel. We appreciate each and every one of you. So while you're watching, stop right now, give us a like, and hit that subscribe button. Now, steps we're taking. Jice?
All right. First step is we're thinking about legal planning. So we've talked in the past, we have a couple of videos on wills. So that's just who do you want your things to pass on to? If you got property, personal property, etc., house, cars, stocks, bonds, 401ks, all of that stuff. Okay, who does that pass on to? Now we're also going to talk about power of attorney in terms of legal planning. So if you're incapacitated, you need somebody to do banking for you. Like Lynn has power of attorney for her mom. So she can go to the bank and do things for her, etc. And you think about today's age, a lot of people, as you get older, memory slips and you're just not as sharp as you are. You may need somebody younger who can do those responsibilities for you and do them responsibly. Another thing is healthcare proxy. If you become, you get in an accident or in a coma or something like that. Who's going to make the decision if you live or you die, or those healthcare decisions? Like Lynn and I had that conversation. I vividly remember it, like when we did our first will, and we were talking about like, what if we were in a vegetative state? How long would you want to live? And I was like, well, I don't necessarily want a year, but don't pull the plug in like 48 hours. Give me at least 30 days. Let God work out this miracle in 30 days. So I was like, that was kind of my key time limit. So she knows that. But for myself, like Lynn and my sister, who's a family medical doctor, you know, I trust them in partnership to do the right thing. So those are things in terms of legal planning.
And with that healthcare proxy, I think that Joyce just made a good point, is that right now in our documents, we are each other's healthcare proxy. And so you can put one name down, but as he mentioned, my sister-in-law, his sister is a doctor. My best friend is a surgeon. And so, you know, I think it's also helpful if you have medical people in your network, in your family, that, you know, those kind of medical decisions, even if you have a name, make sure that person knows other people in your network that might be good to consult with if there are any medical issues. Yeah. The other thing that we're talking about is really housing decisions.
Big one.
Yeah. And as we've said, you know, the first one on that list is downsizing. And that's probably the future. I mean, we have a nice home. I love our home, and, you know, front yard, backyard, but there's always something to do. We recently replaced our roof.
Yes.
Ouch.
Don't remind me.
But these are things that, yes, we can take care of now, and they come with the responsibility of home ownership and larger home ownership right now. But, you know, I think Joyce and I have talked, and our number and our age is 75. We're going to really look around when we're 75, and I don't think we'll be in this house. Maybe we will. But at that point, age 75 is operation, you know, age in place, figure it out, downsize. And, you know, by that point, and just doing things that downsize the stuff we have, downsize the footprint of our house.
One
story, get it ready, get it accessible from the standpoint, do we need to be climbing over a bathtub to get ready, or it needs to be a shower, you know.
Arm rails, those kind of ADA compliant.
Right.
The older you get, you need to think about those things.
And I think it's also kind of, what is the living option? Are we trying to live in a house? Are we living in a condo? Are we doing independent living in a senior community? What kind of environment do we want to live? And then even also being childless, does that mean where's the location? So we talk a lot on this channel about living abroad.
Right.
That presents another set of challenges from the standpoint of, I don't want to go to another foreign country and just be solo. So what does healthcare, what does elder care look like in another country? Or if you are staying domestically, consider that you don't have kids, but maybe there's nephews, there's nieces, there's close friends or somebody else. It may even mean moving to another city to be geographically closer to those people that can take a look, you know, keep a lookout for you. So all of those housing decisions, you don't want to wait until you're in your mid 70s and late 70s to be having those conversations. It's time to start thinking about that and making some plans now.
We've even talked about getting a group of like-minded friends to either buy property or condos or whatever together.
Right.
So we're all kind of checking in on each other. So that's something a lot of
we'll come back and talk about that a little bit later.
All right. Next one, financial planning. So long-term care. That's something you should consider. They have long-term care policies that you could get to help pay for that while you're younger. I would recommend, I'm not a financial planner, a financial advisor, or legal, so consult yours. These are just things we're considering for our situation and just putting it out in the atmosphere that you may want to consider it. But do you know, for instance, if you went into a assisted living facility, the average cost of that in a year in the U.S. is $115,000. So think about that. If you went into one of those at 75 and lived till 80, that's over $500,000 that expense. So if you get the long-term care policy, you know, that could help, you know, in terms of offsetting that. Another thing is savings. Obviously, savings and investments. You're going to want to do that in your younger years so you have money to take care of yourself and to live off of. And then lastly, passive income. You want to have passive income. When you're not working, you don't have that steady check coming in once a month or every 2 weeks, you're going to need passive income. So ETFs, high dividend yield, stocks, mutual funds, etc. Interest off of the money you've accrued over the years. So those are things you're going to want to think about in terms of money to live off of.
And real estate.
And real estate. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Rental property.
Right.
If
That
you got a
primary
house,
home that you have, that once you've downsized for, if it's paid for, if the
Right.
mortgage is lower, it may be a situation where, I don't know if, you want to be a landlord in your late 70s or 80s or whatever, but, turn that over to a property manager.
Right.
And that could be a source of passive income as well, as far as being, real estate. Moving on to, and Jice kind of alluded it to, building a care network. We don't have kids. We have 2 nephews and a niece, and they're kind of scattered, and probably who knows where they're going to be in 20, 25, 30 years. But, they definitely know that Auntie Lynn and Uncle Jice, are on the radar as far as we tell the oldest ones now, y'all going to have to look out for us.
Right.
But we don't know if that's going to be close or far. So, whatever extended family that you have, nieces, nephews, cousins, their siblings, the responsibility with that, neighbors, as far as knowing people that are, if you don't know your next door neighbor, maybe the people across the street, but you've got to build some type of network of people.
Church.
It's also from the standpoint of the relationships of, building those relationships if you don't have them now. Thinking about caregivers. If you are, we're hoping to, live long lives, but the reality is one of us is probably going to go before the other one. And then the other one's going to die of a broken heart 2 or 3 days later, right?
Absolutely.
It probably may not happen that way. And so if there is a surviving spouse, that even, or you're single, those are concerns. And so maybe there is caregiving help. There are plenty of agencies outside, and people that can come and check on you. You don't have to be sick. It can be companionship. And it might be a situation where it may be, let's have somebody come in a couple of times a week just to help around the house and to be companionship or to take you out for lunch. So you might even have to put that back in the budget as far as hiring caregiving help. And then, as we say, your network of friends. We have several friends in our network who are married couples and childless, single people and childless. We joke, but the conversation's becoming more and more serious as far as where are we going to land? And we're talking about either domestically or abroad, but living in the same complex. I have a wild idea as far as I'd love to have some land someplace and build some, mid-size homes on it so that, hey, everybody open up your blinds or, communicate on the text thread by 11 a.m. to let us know you're okay. And, while that could be something that I joke about, I'm increasingly seeing stories of these communities of elders that are, co-oping and living together. And so me and Jice really like that idea and stay in communication with our friends as far as where are we going to go?
Where are we going?
And how we can look out for each other.
Right.
Another PS on this one is, be intentional about growing your network. I saw this happen with my grandmother. I saw it happening with my mom. But the truth and reality is your contemporaries and your friends are going to start transitioning. I saw it with my grandmother where all of her girlfriends and friends started passing away. And then I saw it with my mom and all their friends. And it's sad, but it really is a reality of life. And the one thing that happened with my mom that I saw is that she created a new group of friends. And I don't know if it really was creation. I think it just happened organically, where her network of friends became people that were 15, 20, 25 years younger than her. So she became kind of their surrogate mom. But the benefit of that is that they were driving. They could check on her. They could go to the grocery. They could, they were savvy enough to take her to doctor's appointments. And so I think that is a key point of this aging, is that if you don't have children, maybe you could have the surrogate children and make sure your network has people that are younger than you are, so that they can take on some of those responsibilities that your children would if you don't have any. And places to look for that are the places where people care. Churches, if you're a member of a religious-based community, sororities, fraternities, fraternal organizations, alumni associations. There are plenty of places of people where it's I know we're part of them, And taking care of elders in the church, in the sorority, in the fraternity, it's part of what we do.
Right.
Looking out for people. So
and it really is a two-way relationship.
Right.
You as the elder person, you can give that person advice. You may not be able to do as many physical things, but the passing on of knowledge,
Right.
especially for people who didn't have maybe strong parents in their lives to advise them, that's priceless.
Right.
So
Right.
however you can give back, you will receive in terms of the care.
So the main thing is that be open to expanding your network and definitely be open to not being alone.
Right.
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 And then the final one that we want to talk about is health and lifestyle. And so, that's something that you can get the reins on now and really should be taken care of. I know that Jice and I,
We walk
We're-
5 times a week at least,
Right.
at least over 4 miles each time. So-
right. We're big into walking, and that's partially because the weather is good, and
Right.
it probably still, the benefit of being in Charlotte, we probably can keep this up until it gets cold and we're walking
Right.
outside. But we are walking. We are mindful of our diet.
Yeah, mindful. Not great at it, but getting there.
But getting there. And, strength training, you'll find out about balance and,
You saw that with your mom. You got to keep your core tight.
keep your core tight, keep, put your hands out in case you fall and that type of thing. I went to a presentation with some doctors and nurses about, keeping,
strength.
that your house can be dangerous, but it's also, you need to be prepared for the dangers of your house and be able to, keep your body as strong as possible. So I think
Right.
those are things that you can take into control now as far as your health and your wellness. And that's not just your physical health, but I think your mental health as well. And one of the things that, I noticed that my mom is doing, she is a word search person and she's gotten into adult coloring. And I know that it keeps her mind sharp. So even now, I play Wordle every day. I play all those free New York Times games every day. I've got Jice playing a couple of them. We play the games on LinkedIn. And,
I'm doing foreign language training, so that helps as well.
So I think that even in this health and wellness, it's not only about the physical, it's about keeping your mind sharp. We started this YouTube channel and it's allowed us to learn a variety of skills that we're still, learning and trying to get better at. But the good thing about it is just that pursuit of knowledge and doing something new and
Learning AI.
Right.
I'm taking a cloud computing class. It's like a year or 2 certification. So yeah, just keep your mind sharp.
keep your mind sharp as far as health and wellness. And so these are the things that we're talking about. And if we have to, as we wrap up this video, some advice that we have for you is to, start out early. If you're in your 40s, 50s, and 60s, this is the time to be preparing for, are you aging in place? Are you going into independent living? Are you open to assisted living? Where are you going to be? So, start now. And then another part, have these uncomfortable conversations. They're not always easy to talk about, but it's necessary, and have those conversations with your spouse. If you're single, have it with trusted friends or family, nieces, nephews.
Yeah, use your network. Don't feel like you're in it alone in terms of subject matter experts. Like we talked about, attorneys, financial advisor, insurance specialists, those type of people to say, hey, here's the gap I'm facing. How can I use this product to help me get to where I need to go? And like I said, people are more than friendly and will assist you.
Right.
Finding the right people.
Right. And we're just, it's a reality. No one wants to transition and necessarily die alone. I still am kind of haunted by Gene Hackman and his wife. So it's not even a sign of having a lot of money and a big house, but passing away and nobody knowing for days, and checking on you. That's something that, Jice and I talk about. And it's like, we don't want that, from the standpoint of we want to make sure that we have community, that we are taken care of at every stage of our lives. And we're making those plans now. And I think that, it's not a time to dread. It really is a time to design. Right. And that's what we're doing now. We're designing our lives now. We're designing for our 60s, for our 70s, 80s, and beyond. And I think that's the challenge, is that don't be thinking about aging as a dread.
Right.
Think about it as a design.
It's your next phase of life. You're the author. So write your next chapter.
That's right. So with that, we thank you. Jump in the comments. Do you have a plan? Are you thinking of aging in place? If you don't have children, what is your network like? If you do have children, are you tight with them? Do y'all have a plan? Are you living with them? Are they going to live with you? Have you had those conversations? Are you open to it? Let us know, because, not having children, it's been a choice. We have enjoyed the freedom of it. But sometimes you think about,
well, who's going to take care of us?
Who's going to
check in on us?
Who's going to check in on us?
Right.
So, but we'd love to hear from some of the people with kids. It's like, how are you feeling? Are you solid and your kids taking care of you? Or is this conversation hitting home for you as well? So, Quench Crew, we thank you for rocking with us. As always, hit the like button, share this video, subscribe, and click that notification bell to get notified of when we post a video. So with that, anything else?
I think we hit on everything. Good luck on writing your next chapter.
Yes, because we're here for you, and we are encouraging you to make that next chapter of your life the best chapter of your life. So until next time, Quench Crew, bye-bye.
Adios.